Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day. Guys, we have some news on the weekend. We have a summoning event, and we do have a 2x for primal shards, but unfortunately, only for epics and legendary champions, not for mythicals. It has been like 2-3 months, I think, since the last 2x on mythical champions from primal shards. And yeah, like a lot of people were thinking it's going to be this weekend, but unfortunately, not this weekend. We will have a 2x for epics and legendary champions from Primal Shards. And then at the same time, we will have a progressive chance event. That means at least 15x and can go up to 25x for Duchess, Lily2, Firo, Glycat, Highkeeper Prisma, Loki. And then for the Void Legendary champions, there will be a progressive chance for Shredder, Little Miss Annie, and 5D. And I think, in my opinion, Shredder might be the most interesting out of this summoning event because he's part of the Turtles collab, right? And there's only a limited time where we can get him. But besides that, for non-voids, I would say Firo is probably the most wanted as he's used in multiple endgame comps. So if we check the event calendar, there will be a Sumon Rush this weekend, right? From Friday, there will be the Sumon Rush event where you can get pizza points. And as I said in previous videos, you can only skip one of these summoning events if you are trying to get the 5-star soul for Donatello. And yeah, so if you have skipped the champ chase, you are not able to skip this one as well because you get 200 points out of these summoning events, and we can only skip 250. It's actually not bad 2x on primal shards, but let's be honest, you're most likely going to open your primal shards because you want mythicals, not for legendary champions, right? Either way, a 2x on primal shards is actually not bad for a Sumon Rush event in terms of points. You will get a lot of epics and maybe a lot of legendaries, but I would hold your primal shards until 2x for mythical champions is coming up. At least that's what I'm doing, and I don't feel like I want to participate in this Sumon Rush event at all. Now let's go over the champions real quick. So we have a Demon Spawn, Duchess Lily2 for the non-voids as a progressive chance event, and she is a very solid reviver still to this day. Probably the best carry for the faction wars, normal and hard, right? Like a really solid reviver still to this day. Got a little bit of power crap, but she's still good. Can also be used in some siege teams, and overall, just a nice kit with block debuffs, increase attack. Some people use her in Chimera, in Hydra. I use her in Hydra as well. Very interesting champion with the speed aura in all battles as well. This champion definitely has great value. Then the second one from the Sylvan Watchers is Firo, probably the most wanted out of this progressive event, as I said, because of his passive that gives your champions 20% more damage if they are under 4 or more buffs, and this is used in Trundle teams. I use him in my Titus team. I use him in the Sylvan Watchers faction wars, and yeah, he's just an amazing champion. He allows you to build your team with less accuracy, less resistance, so you can focus on more speed if you need it, or more damage, as he's buffing up increased resistance. Also, he has the perfect whale. He gives you additional resistance, accuracy, and 20% damage for having 2, 3, or 4 buffs on your allies, and that is amazing. On top of that, he's a block buffs champion. The decreased accuracy comes in handy sometimes as well, and he is ignoring 20% of the target's resistance, which makes it so much easier to build him. This is basically like a mythical in terms of ignoring resistance. And the good part about this is that you don't need to book it, right? It's implemented in the skills. And then in the same faction, we have another reviver, which is Glycat, and this guy is also pretty amazing as he has a similar passive to Firo. It's a little bit weaker, but allies under a perfect veil buff placed by this champion deal 10% more damage. So another 10% additional damage. So if you need a reviver that also pushes your damage, he's the one. He has a lot of buffs, increased accuracy, increased defense. If no allies were revived by this skill, he gets an extra turn, and then he can place the increased attack as well. And a perfect veil on everybody. So he's buffing like 4 buffs in one go. And yeah, it's just amazing that he also adds that 10% additional damage with his passive. This is pretty much the meta, right? We want champions that have a passive that boost our damage. And we want to get as many multipliers as possible. So he's also a very amazing champion. Also, his base speed is actually pretty high. And he has a all battles speed aura as well. I still don't have him. I wish I had him. He's actually very cool. I would implement him probably in one of my Hydra teams, but I haven't been lucky yet to pull him. Then we have High Keeper Prisma from the High Elves, and I think he's actually a very underrated champion. So he's pretty amazing, to be honest. I pulled a 6-star soul for him. I also just ranked him up. I'm probably going to try him soon. And I was planning on implementing him in my Faction Wars Heart team, but then, I pulled Galathier and he kind of became irrelevant for the moment. But I think I will still implement him alongside Galathier, as he has this ally attack, which you can see right here. The ally with the highest crit damage will team up and join the attack. The ally joining the attack will use their default skill and ignore 35% of the target's defense. That's a lot, right? So your nuker will definitely smack with this ally attack. If the enemy is killed by the ally joining this attack, activates an instant turn effect on that ally. So pretty amazing skill, to be honest. And I think I can definitely make some use of this in Faction Wars Heart. On top of that, he can also revive. It's a single target revive, but it's still not bad. And he places increased attack and perfect wail on that ally for 2 turns. So I think he's a very underrated champion. He can also stun with the A1. I really don't think his kit is bad. Like it's very solid, especially this passive, which has a 40% chance to remove any block debuffs from each enemy and replace them with block buffs. So basically, he does what some of the Faction Wars Heart bosses do. They convert buffs or debuffs to buffs, and he's kind of doing the same thing, which is pretty interesting. It's a 40% chance. It's not like guaranteed, but still, it might help with the Faction Wars boss that converts the debuffs into buffs. That really is sometimes annoying and hard to deal with, especially when you get unlucky and all the debuffs that you place are getting converted, especially if it's like an attack up, right, and the boss deals more damage. Suddenly that can really mess up the run. And this is a very useful passive for the waves as well, when they start buffing and some of the buffs get converted into debuffs. So yeah, pretty cool kit, to be honest. And the last non-void legendary champion from the Barbarians faction is Loki. Kind of weird that we have a progressive chance event for him right now, but he was a login champion at some point, so a lot of players do have him. Maybe they want to give players a chance to grab this guy, but I don't think he's worth to go for. He is a very unique kid, and yeah, I think most people do know what he does. And for lower accounts, he's actually pretty solid, right? Very hard to deal with if you build him right, and yeah, pretty interesting champion overall. I haven't used him yet. I still have him in the vault with a soul, and there's just no need for me to build this guy at this very moment. But I remember when I played in the Hell Hades free-to-play challenge, it was very hard to kill Loki sometimes, and a lot of players do have him, as he was a login champion with a 5-star soul, and a 5-star soul early on is very strong, so he's very hard to deal with. The further you progress, he kind of gets irrelevant a little bit. He can still be used here and there, but I don't think he's a crazy game changer for players if you would pull him. So I don't recommend to go for Loki. And then on the Void Legendary Champions, we have Shredder from the Ninja Turtles collab. So far, we only had a few summoning events where we can get him. Not quite sure. I think there was one other event where we were able to get Shredder, but here we have a progressive chance event. I don't think there will be a guaranteed event for him, as he's a Void Legendary. Maybe there will be a Champ Chase tournament where you can place first on a leaderboard and get him as a reward, but I don't think he's going to be guaranteed in a sense of a Hero's Path or a Deck of Fate. It's most likely going to be, progressive events like this, and then summoning pools with Prism Shards. But yeah, so I don't think he's actually good. I mean, his kit looks amazing on paper, but he's just not doing enough damage, and he's not doing what we were expecting, so he's not that great. As you can see, the ratings are kind of low. I think they're not that justified. They should be a little bit lower, actually, in my opinion. But yeah, maybe they will buff him. Who knows? But as of now, he's not really great. He has a very interesting kit with a lot of death ignore. He's HP based. You know, you would think he would hit hard and you can build him tanky, but apparently he doesn't hit hard. And that's kind of like the problem with champions like this. If they don't come up with enough damage, they become kind of useless. Doesn't matter how good the kid looks like. And that's kind of like the thing with Shredder. But if you are trying to collect all of the Ninja Turtles champions, there is a chance, a progressive chance event. But keep in mind, like 15x progressive events are really not as good as you might think. You might get lucky, right? Pull in with the first legendary you get. But, you know, there's a big pool of legendary champions, and a 15x on one of those champions is just not cutting it. It's a little bit better for void legendaries than it is for non-voids. For non-voids, it's kind of like completely useless, but for voids, it's also getting kind of like overrated, in my opinion. The next one is a Little Miss Annie from the Undead Hordes. I think this was a Halloween legendary champion. I used her in Faction Wars Hard for the non-weak hit condition that was actually pretty clutch, and she can hit hard if you have solid gear on her. She's ignoring defense. She has a free hitter on the A1, places decreased defense. She buffs herself with increased attack, so she's actually pretty amazing. I love this champion. She does a lot of damage. If you have a 6-star soul and crushing rend, she's absolutely annihilating enemies, which is pretty awesome. Only downside is all of her attacks are single target attacks, but that makes her kind of like a boss killer. So yeah, she can really deal some damage. She was a guaranteed void legendary last year, I think, in October or November, I don't remember. But yeah, I wouldn't pull for her, actually. I don't think she's a crazy game changer, crazy void legendary. There's definitely some other void legendaries that are much more game changing, like a Senna, for example, right? A Marichka and so on. But yeah, if you happen to pull her, don't be upset. She can be used here and there. Now, would I go for her in a progressive chance event? Probably not. I don't think she's worth it. The next void legendary might be actually worth it, and it's one of the newer void legendary champions, which is Feidi. And Feidi has a skill cooldown reset skill. Decreases the cooldown of all ally active skills except this champion's by 3 turns. The cooldown of this skill cannot be decreased or reset. That's kind of like the downside, that you can't reset Feidi, but Feidi can reset your team, and that's actually not bad, right? If you have Donatello and Feidi, you kind of like have 2 champions that can reset the cooldowns of your team. They can't reset each other, but at least you have somewhat of a cooldown reset. On top of that, Feidi has amazing buffs: increased resistance, perfect veil, block buffs, and decreased speed. Has a complete buff strip. So if your enemies have block debuffs, Feidi removes those buffs and then places her debuffs. Also fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, so a turn meter booster as well. And we have a little heal on the A1, as well as a single target turn meter boost for the ally with the lowest turn meter. The passive turn meter fill effects on all allies under stun, freeze, sheep, and so on are 30% more active. Whenever a sheep debuff is removed or expires on an ally, heals that ally by 25% of their max HP. I don't think that's super important, as most of the time Feidi is used in like clan boss teams and not really in arena. I haven't really seen her there. Overall, I think this is a very solid legendary champion. Definitely good to have. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it about this video. As I said, I'm probably going to skip the Sumon Rush event, as I completed the Champ Chase tournament, and I want to save up my Sacred Shards, which have the most value for Sumon Rushes. Now we have a 2x, obviously, for Primal Shards, which means you will get a lot more epics, right? And a lot more legendary champions. So if you take a look here, the Primal Shards have a 16% to get an epic. That will be a 32% chance. and then a 2% chance for a legendary champion, which is not bad, right? You can definitely stack up some points with some primal shards, but I wouldn't recommend to do it because there will be a 2x for mythicals at some point. The last one is like 3 months ago, but you know, that only means that we are getting closer to the next one. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you guys are pulling for this event and which champion you are going for. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. It really goes a long way. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The algorithm is going to suggest you a video that you might like right here. And see you in the next one.